First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my kids what their grandfather did to me? I've been with my husband since high school, and his dad has always made me uncomfortable. Father-in-law adores, borderline worships his wife, and is very cold to everyone. I always thought the family dynamic was a bit weird, but everyone else was nice. Mother-in-law is questionable, but I love his siblings. I got pregnant right after high school and we needed financial help. Around the same time, mother-in-law was diagnosed with late-stage cancer and the prognosis was not great. Father-in-law was devastated. I mean, he pretty much stopped speaking to anyone but her. Mother-in-law has always been vain, and she had a nervous breakdown when she started losing her hair. They are well off, and she had the best wigs money could buy. I guarantee most people didn't know she was wearing wig, but it was very hard on her. I have a long blonde hair, as did she. Apparently my hair was triggering her, so father-in-law told me it had to go. I told him that was unfair. He told me I could cut it or be homeless. I agreed, and he took scissor and cut it off. I wasn't expecting him to just do it like that, and it looked terrible. That was 10 years ago. Mother-in-law did make it, though it was a long road. All of father-in-law's kids view him as a hero because he took such good care of her, but I still hold a lot of resentment. My kids are not allowed around them without me or my husband present. The kids are pretty indifferent to father-in-law but adore mother-in-law, and recently were questioning why they can't have sleepovers like their cousins do. I was honest about what he did and why I don't trust him. My kids ended up calling mother-in-law and father-in-law and confronting them. Mother-in-law made excuses and made it all about her. My 8-year-old daughter got very upset and said that she doesn't want to see them anymore. Mother-in-law swore at me, kids weren't present, and said that I poisoned them against her. I said that her own husband's actions did that. Mother-in-law isn't talking to me currently and accused me of making fun of her cancer. She always plays the victim when she is cornered, but for the most part, people are on my side. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Oh my god. Fairy tale villains have time traveled to the future. Seriously. An evil mother figure who's jealous of the daughter figure's beauty. An abusive father figure who torments a girl for being beautiful. Traumatic hair cutting against your will. They're from the Middle Ages. You told your kids the truth, and they made their own, right, judgment. As they get older, they'll find it more disgusting. Hair cutting against someone's will is a very intimate, damaging, personal violation with all sorts of implications we won't go into here. If they both think it is fair and right, why should they care you told your kids? Haven't they proudly told everyone themselves? How they bravely cut a woman's hair despite her objections because the evil witch was jealous? They're not bragging about it? No, because they know it was wrong. If you don't want people to think you're evil, don't do bad things. I'm so sorry you went through that. Congratulations on having the clarity and resolve to see them for what they are and to protect your kids from them. Don't give your kids any reason to think that's an appropriate way to act when you're jealous. Not the a-hole. Wow, what he did to you was horrible. He took away your autonomy and threatened to make you homeless if you didn't give it up. Honestly, you should go no contact. I would have if I could with just him, but mother-in-law didn't know. Her shock was very real when she heard what he did almost a year later. Info, there's lots of details missing here. So other than the single hair-cutting event, what is the rest of your relationship with them like? Has the inappropriateness of that incident ever been discussed with them since? Most importantly, where is your husband in all this? What was his response to his father cutting your hair? How does he feel about you telling your children this? He never had a great relationship with his dad. Father-in-law was kind of authoritarian, but he feels bad for punishing his mom. She 100% didn't know until almost a year after the fact. She can't act, and that was genuine shock. He wishes the kids could go over, but respects my decision. My relationship with mother-in-law is okay. Father-in-law ignores me for the most part, has always been a jerk to my husband for not working a white-collar job, and is okay with the kids but isn't a kid person in general. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset enough at my wife for how she reacted to a house fire with our baby in the house that I left for a night with our baby? My wife and I have an 8-month-old. Last week, I was coming home from work, and just as I was coming up the driveway, she came running down the driveway barefoot. She saw me and yelled at me to call 911. There was a fire in the kitchen. I asked her where our daughter was because she wasn't with her, and she said she was inside and to call 911 fast. We live somewhere rural and response times are slow. I immediately was scared the house would go up with our daughter inside before the fire department came. I tried to run inside and she tried to stop me, yelling again and again that I couldn't go in. There was a fire. I went in. The way the house is laid out, you have to go through the kitchen to get to the hallway with the nursery. There was a grease fire in the stove in a pan, and the wall above the stove and the curtains nearby was catching. I put out the pan by putting a lid on, and then put out the wall and the curtains with a fire extinguisher. Then I immediately went to the nursery and got our daughter. Going back outside, my wife was gone. I soon found out she went down the road looking for a neighbor whose phone she could use. But at the time, and for a while, I was really upset that her reaction to a fire had been to run out without our baby, and to even try to stop me from going inside before the fire department had come. And that she put her in danger by not trying to put the fire out with a lid or baking tray over the grease fire at first, when it was smaller, or trying to use the fire extinguisher. If I hadn't come home when I did, I don't want to think about what would have happened. The fire department showed up, but the fire was already out, and my wife returned too, driven by a neighbor. I was angry with her for the reasons I said, and she just totally clammed up. I went to stay with my brother and sister-in-law that night, taking our daughter, and my wife was very angry with me over it, saying the next day, how dare I leave her alone after that? She needed someone to drive her to the urgent care after injuring her feet running barefoot. That upsets me even more. That was what she was worried about, not what had almost happened when she ran out of the house on fire without our baby. I've been staying at my brother's for about a week now. I don't know what to do, or if I was in the wrong for being so angry. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted to my wife starting an accidental kitchen fire, then running away leaving our baby in the house? Now for the top comments. BR, aka Beyond Reddit. You need counseling, couples and individual, not AITA. Yeah, agreed. This is out of our pay grade. The damage here is immense and multifaceted. Don't let people here put ideas in your head. You are likely to get drama mongering in spite of how well-meaning and sympathetic they might be. You need to bring in the professionals. For real. When my daughter was about 18 months old, she choked on a nickel. My husband yelled for me to come help, stood there with wild eyes in a white-hot panic and asked me 100 times in 20 seconds if he should call 911 while I was doing back blows. I finally said yes, and he grabbed his phone, called 911, and ran out of the house leaving me alone with a choking child. He said his plan was to be out there so the paramedics could find our house, which is fair, it's hard to find. But the reality was he just panicked. He handles crisis professionally, but in the moment, with his own child, he just freaked the hell out. I don't feel like I can judge her or you. No a-holes here. But your wife should definitely learn some basic first aid/home safety. Does your town do a survive alive house? Our town does, and I'm sure they would allow a grown-up who needed some general knowledge and needed to gain a level of confidence in handling small emergencies. A first aid class is probably a good idea too. No a-holes here. Your wife sucks in an emergency. That much is absolutely clear, and that needs to be dealt with for sure. That said, she panicked. I don't think it is fair to hold the decisions she made against her in that state, especially considering she followed the textbook rules that are drilled into children from a young age. Get out, call 911, don't go back in. Remember how many times you heard that back in elementary school from your teachers? On field trips to firehouses, and when the fire department came to your school to do a demonstration. Unfortunately, they don't send out updates for that once we reach adulthood. That said, I completely understand your anger, feelings of betrayal and lost trust in your wife. This is something you both should seek counseling about. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband for what he did at my friend's mother's funeral? I, 34, have a close friend whose mother died after a long struggle with cancer. My friend expected this, but is struggling to cope. I was there for her from the first hour until the funeral. She's my best friend. We grew up together and her mother was like the mother I always wished for. My husband, 37, and I got ready to go to the funeral. He's a self-employed real estate agent after he lost his position at his previous company. Things have been rough for him for the past year, and unfortunately he is still struggling. He's desperate for work. All he has is this one nice suit and his business cards to hand out to everyone he sees. He was married before I met him. My family don't get along with him, and he claims it's because he was married before me. Anyways, we got there. He was talking to few guests, and I just stayed by my friend's side during the service. My sister came to me, berating me, asking why I brought my husband with me. I thought, oh no, please, don't get started on him being married before. Really, my sister brings it up all the time. I told her to drop it. I looked and saw him talking to guests and thought nothing of it. We went to my friend's mother's house where her family gathered. I went to get a bottle of water, then I came back and saw my husband handing my friend his business card. I was shocked. My friend looked upset. Then I pulled my husband aside and asked what he was doing. He said nothing. He had a client looking for a house and thought my friend might want to sell her mom's house, and so he gave her his business card. I covered my face with my hand from shame and embarrassment. We left because I couldn't dare look my friend in the eyes. I yelled at him in the car and asked him who told him she wanted to sell her mother's house, and why he thought it was okay to hand her his business card on her mother's funeral when she was still crying for Christ's sake. He kept saying it was just a question, but I told him that was inappropriate and just awful because pretty much every guest heard what he said to her. He said he was trying to make a living. I told him there were other ways like social media / creating a website or something. I got home and I tried to call my friend to apologize, but she didn't answer my calls. He still thinks he didn't do anything inappropriate and that I'm being harsh on him by yelling. Now for the top comments. Wow. Something tells me that there are reasons to not like your husband that are not related to him previously being married. He needs to read the room. Not an a-hole. His actions were incredibly out of line and callous. Yeah, can't really blame Opie's sister for not liking the husband after reading that. What an absolute heartless thing to do. At least wait until the body is cold before trying to make a buck off of this poor woman's loss. Not an a-hole. I'm a real estate agent, and you have to hand your cards out and network if you want to be successful. A funeral is not the freaking time to network, especially the property of the recently deceased. Not an a-hole. That is just hugely inappropriate and insensitive in that setting. You must be mortified. Edited to add, not only is it unbelievably insensitive to your friend, it is so widely understood to be in bad taste that he can probably cross anyone who saw him do it from his list of potential clients as well. Maybe that he'll understand. Your Reddit is right on the money. In the pursuit of one sale, he just torched his reputation with heaven knows how many people who witnessed him being such a crass and predatory bore. It's as though he took that scene from combining obituaries and real estate listings from When Harry Met Sally, literally. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not trying harder to wake up my husband? My 24 female, husband 24 male, decided on one of his workdays to stay up all night drinking beer and talking one of his friends. I reminded him several times throughout the night that he had work and that he should go to bed, in which he responded that he would be fine. He finally crawled into bed 5 minutes before the alarm was supposed to go off, claiming that he was just going to rest for 5 minutes. The alarm goes off. I shake him, let him know that it went off, and proceeded to get him his clothes and pack his lunch like I always do. I bring him his clothes to find that he has fallen back asleep. I shake him hard enough to wake him up, telling him that it is time to go to work. He mumbles something, and I get up to take the dog out before I had to drive him to work. He can't drive. I come back in to find him still asleep. I shake him again to wake him back up. He wakes up long enough to look at me and then falls back asleep. So starts the repeated process of me shaking him waking up long enough to look at me, and him falling back asleep. I decide that shaking him isn't going to work. So I pull the covers off of him and drag him out of the bed, hoping this will wake him up, as by this time he is going to be late to work. He just mumbles and crawls back in bed. I give up and decide to give him a few minutes before trying again. I repeat the same process. Shake him, try to drag him out of bed, even take his hand to try and pull him up. No luck. This goes on literally for a couple hours. By this time, he is already late to work, which I have told him he was going to be multiple times, and he didn't listen. And it is getting to the point if I don't get him up, then I will also be late to work. I take an ice pack from the freezer and stick it on him. All this does is cause him to pull away and pull the blanket over top of him. I try this multiple more times, along with shaking him and once again trying to pull him out of bed. This also didn't work. I eventually gave up because he wasn't going to get his butt up and I was going to be late to work, so I just go and clock in. I work from home. He finally wakes up a couple hours later and demands why I didn't wake him up. I tell him I tried over and over to wake him up and he wouldn't wake up. He gets pissed off and tells me I didn't try hard enough. When I told him I even tried to drag him out of bed, he called me a liar and said that if he loses his job, then it would be my fault. Am I the a-hole for not trying harder to wake him up for work? How much harder could you have tried? I can't believe you tried as hard as you did. But what a huge red flag that he chooses to stay up all night drinking and then blames you when he can't wake up for work. Opie, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be questioning if you're the a-hole. He is so much. It is not your fault he stayed up late and slept through work. Don't you dare let him make you feel bad, not the a-hole. Also, I'd recommend you stop getting his clothes and packing his lunch. He's a grown man and can do it himself, along with getting himself up for work, not the a-hole. Info: I can't be the only one here wondering if this guy does anything for himself. She gets his clothes for the day, makes his lunch, gets him to work. He sounds more like a freaking toddler than a husband. There seems to be an ever-present stream of women posting about their useless children husbands. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.